J.R. Smith not knowing the score at the end of that game. Have you ever seen a situation like that before? Playing college, playing pro, agenting pro. Have you ever seen anything like at the end of game one before?
I've seen that before. In that particular setting, at that time and place, I haven't seen it. I mean, that's one of the biggest moments, right? For it to have he just had a mental lapse, to say the least. It's very unfortunate, very devastating play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, there's no way to get around it. For him not to be aware of the time and score, in particular at that specific time of the game, that's unacceptable for a veteran. And I think you saw LeBron's reaction. I think you saw the players around him reaction, the coaches. To not be aware of the time and score at that time, I don't know what to really say, and I don't think there's anything for him to say other than, you know what, I just had a mental lapse, and you move on.
Well, I mean, in the first blush moments of trying to move on, there's now video, as we've seen this morning.
Right.
And when you say, well, there's nothing to say, they literally were not talking to each other.
Right.
And I don't know if Ty Lue's deciding, all right, I'm going to strategize and let them hash it out and then come on in, whatever coaching philosophy that was or whatever. But when you see LeBron's reaction to finding out that there was still a timeout remaining, what's your reaction to seeing that video, BJ?
Well, you never take these opportunities for granted. And it's one thing about LeBron James I've come to respect over the years. He's very aware of what's going on, not only in his particular situation, but he's aware of everything that's going on around him. Mm-hmm. LeBron James knows with this Golden State Warriors team, game one was very, very important because game one is kind of the fill-out game. He went for it, and I give him credit for that. He was going for the win in game one to set the stage for the entire series. I mean, he came out.
But what's going through those temples when he put his head in the...
When he put it, I think he was devastated. I think that was his moment of like, that was our chance, and we blew our chance to win that game and possibly that series. I don't think there's any way to go around it. I mean, you don't put your hands in your head during the NBA Finals, during the game, especially when you know you have overtime to play the game. I think that was just a moment that they had where they had a chance to win it. I mean, you have a chance to win game one on the road in the finals versus the Golden State Warriors. You don't let that opportunity slip by. If you miss the shot, so be it. But to have a mental lapse like that, I think was just devastating. And you saw it, how they performed in overtime. I think they didn't move on. They didn't turn the page. I think they were stuck there, and I think it took them a couple of days. I thought, in game two, they rebounded. But to lose that opportunity, I think is just because you never know when you're going to get that chance back. And to lose the game that way, it was just took the air out of them.
They're probably even having this conversation on the split screen hashtag BarkFest on some other networks and other radio shows that LeBron should have snapped out of it. He's the leader of the team. He's the guy. He should have been the one running the huddle. He's the de facto coach anyway that everybody thinks there is. He should not have been lost in that moment, as crazy bat guano insane as it really was, that he should have snapped out of it and let everybody, that it could have been a different result. How do you respond to what I'm sure is going to be out there, if not already?
Well, when you're playing, you're emotionally involved in the game. Mm-hmm. You have everything you have in that moment. LeBron James, it's hard as a player in that moment to just really separate the emotion of what's going on at the time. I mean, he's trying to look at the game, time and score. He was looking at the situation, and all of a sudden, he was emotionally like, what is going on? It was kind of like no one knew what was going on. If you look at the tape, the defense didn't know what was going on. No one knew what was going on other than JR. JR was the only one that was kind of...
And you could say he didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, he didn't know what was going on. So everyone was kind of like, there was a moment of confusion.
I'm with you. You can't, I mean, he's a human being.
He's a human being.
And nobody could expect, why, and I know everyone's going to be like, why didn't Ty call a timeout? And even LeBron's reaction was he had a timeout. Nobody knew what the hell he was doing. And by the time he was already beyond the three-point arc, there was 1 second left. Now, obviously, he can make a play.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.